Hey, so Excalibur #1 launched today, and I was impressed. I liked this book a lot, but I will say this: I'm a little bit biased toward books about magic. I love almost every book that I've read that has magic involved. I like the original books of magic, all the Sandman series. Of course, I got Hellblazer #1 today as well. Love the Constantine stuff. Justice League Dark. I will say this: I think that DC does magic a little bit better than Marvel does, but this book again puts a little friendly competition against it. And let's just get into the book itself. Teenie Howard is writing, Marcus Toe is doing the art, and Eric Arsenega is doing colors. And I'm telling you right now, I probably butchered his name, so I apologize for that. I would say, as a just quick synopsis of this, is this #1 issue. I would say that this is how Psylocke, this is the story of the intro to the drama and intense action that's going to end up occurring through this. But this is the story of how Psylocke, Betsy Braddock, becomes Captain Britain, or excuse me, better, inherits the powers of Captain Britain, right? And I dig it. This is just an intro to it, and at the very end, it leaves you wanting to read more, and that is exactly what a #1 issue should really do. So from the very beginning, we're right there in Camelot, the other world, and it shows Morgan Le Fay. Being Morgan Le Fay, she grabs one of her knights by the neck and shoves him into her scrying pool, and she says, "What is this? What is this weed that pollutes the kingdom of Camelot?" Apparently, the Krakoan flowers have been messing with the magic. So, of course, it shows the team who we're dealing with here. We have Psylocke, Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, Apocalypse, Trinary, and Captain Britain himself. So, this is a fun team. It's interesting. I love that they put Rogue and Gambit together. I am always, always going to be weirded out that they are working with Apocalypse. I will say that just from the start. Nothing anyone can say is going to convince me otherwise. You're welcome to tell me in the comments, how I'm wrong and we should accept him. But come on, we're talking about Apocalypse here. It's not as weird to be working with Magneto, but Apocalypse, holy cow! And you know what? Through this issue, and I like that it was written in there. It kind of shows how uncomfortable people are with just being in the same room with him. Some of these characters really don't like him being there. So this is good. This kind of second part of the intro. It's an intro to the Braddock family. And you have Psylocke leaving. She's going to Krakoa to be on the island and live with her mutant family, and she's leaving her home here. And it gives a good intro to these characters. If you've never read about them, if you're brand new to Excalibur, to Psylocke, it's cool. I really dig it. And so she walks through the gate, and immediately you see, Apocalypse addressing the people. And it's so strange to see a whole crowd just of good guys, being... I can't let this go, how strange it is. But this is kind of funny. You see Apocalypse saying that he'd prefer to be addressed as... And then there's this weird symbol. It reminds me of Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince, excuse me. That symbol that he wanted to be called. I mean, how do you pronounce that? That's exactly the same thing here. I saw the writer on social media. She was like, well, only mutants know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it either, so... that's kind of funny, and it's just the same thing, Psylocke as well. She said, "I want to be called Betsy," and just like Kitty in last week's issue of Marauders, she was like, "Call me Kate," and I was like, "Ooh, that's the one I don't like." I guess I don't like any of it. I'm just gonna end up calling them Apocalypse, Kitty, and Psylocke. It is what it is. I can't even pronounce Apocalypse's new name or whatever, so. I guess it's a rebranding for him trying to make himself look less evil, because he's evil. He really is. I can't let it go. So we find out that there's a gate there on Krakoa that has no destination, or they don't know where it is. And of course, Apocalypse immediately begins talking about Camelot, so it's kind of an assumption that he makes. And I really did like this data page, or data page, however you want to say that word. And it was really cool because here in Excalibur, this is kind of something new that the writer is doing that I really kind of appreciated, you know? There's a lot of kind of Rosicrucian themes in here, kind of themes from the more modern symbol of magic, if you will, you know, like ceremonial magic in modern day, you know, and a very common reoccurring thing is as below, so above, as above, so below. And again, she threw that in there, and it was interesting as well that she threw in, just like the circle, you know, which is, of course, is the Uberus eating its own tail. She said a superior symbol is the X, requires only 4 cardinal directions instead of a huge amount of people joining hands together to form the Uberus there. I thought that was pretty cool, and that was awesome. And you know, Hickman thought that was awesome. Jonathan Hickman is kind of doing all of the editing work and kind of helping guide these writers and artists as they move into this whole cohesive world that he's creating in the Dawn of X, which is great that, again, all of these things will work together for the first time in a long time. This is going to be a cohesive universe that we're dealing with for the X-Men for the first time in forever, and that's good news. But it was really cute what Hickman said about these data pages. Here, let me find it real quick. He said, "I'm more proud of Teenie Howard's data pages in Excalibur #1 than I am of anything my actual children have done all year." You know, some people would think that's obnoxious, but I thought it was pretty cute. And then Teenie Howard said, responded to him. She quote tweeted him. This was just like 20 hours ago. She said, "I've stressed more about making Jonathan Hickman proud than I have about making my actual dad proud all year." So cool. You know, they have a fun relationship there on social media, and so yeah, I'm digging this, and I like the data pages. I will say they don't feel required, almost, you know, kind of like Hickman's were. Because if you didn't read those data pages on those House of X and Powers of 10, then you were kind of in the dark about a lot of very important issues. And so when I started skipping over them in the beginning, and then I went back to them, I was like, oh, how did I miss that? Well, I didn't read it, but with this, it's kind of an added extra bonus. And you know, last week I didn't like the data pages from that last book, Marauders. Again, it's a different writer. I really like these a lot. Again, because kind of the occult symbolism, I thought it was interesting to add that more modern twist. So as soon as that data page goes through, you get a scene from these modern, kind of, I guess you could say that they're probably close to what the Rosicrucians are, just doing some weird ceremonial magic. And instead of doing what they wanted to do, out steps Morgan LaFey. She says, "Mortals, it is through the grace of my power you are able to do magic. As the moon turns her back to us, so too I give and I take away." So she basically says, she bids them and tells them she's talking about mutants, and she says that which breed is what she calls mutants, or humans. She cares not. You are all the same to me, she says. She says, find the source of this magic. She's basically saying to find the source of these plants. Dunk, boil, and rack every witch breed in your realm if you must. She's talking about she's giving these witches this creed to go after and kill every single mutant if they have to find the source of the magic that is challenging her on Earth, in our realm. This next part, caught me as a little zany, and this is kind of a little bit of humor, if you will, But this is Jamie Braddock, and if you don't know Jamie Braddock, he's not a good guy. He's got serious problems, and it becomes kind of apparent here, at least I hope it does. And, he's basically, so Jamie is Psylocke's brother and Captain Britain's brother. Of course, here we see, tons of villains that have been turned into good guys, so to speak. I really feel like that's all going to come to a head eventually. Probably not until next year. We're probably going to see just a lot of tension continuing to build until finally we figure out kind of that something strange is going on, and that's why everyone's like, oh yeah, it's totally okay for me to be buddies with Apocalypse. There's a good reason for everybody to feel uncomfortable around him. So Jamie, he comes out immediately and basically says that he refuses to speak to even any human whatsoever. And, of course, that's pretty racist as far as I'm concerned. He's like, even my brother, I won't talk to him, and it makes sense, because Jamie is Jamie. So we get a scene, and Apocalypse, he asks Betsy, calling her Betsy is weird, asks Psylocke to bring her brother to the island, but instead of that, she goes to her brother, and they just go right to the other world. I mean, transport directly to Camelot, and right there at the doorstep of Morgan Le Fay. And that's where things get really choppy, You get a scene with Morgan Le Fay really just going at his throat, quite literally, Captain Britain's throat. And then we see this kind of fun scene right here with Gambit and Rogue. And I really like this one quite a bit, actually. This is them. They're kind of having a little bit of Google eyes at each other, almost some pillow talk while they're just walking along, and they're talking about the third law, which is make more mutants. They get summoned, and they're supposed to go to Apocalypse, and kind of Apocalypse's plan right there. We're not really clear about what his plan is. Of course, he still wants to be called the letter A, and he keeps telling people that. But his plan is just, I think, to figure out what's going on. And he basically says, surprise, surprise, him being Apocalypse, he's like, he really doesn't care about returning Psylocke safely at all, And I immediately, when I read that, I was like, well, duh, And so he wants to use Rogue's power to sap the magic from the gate that is, apparently keeping them from being able to travel to the other world. Again, they can send psychic signals through it, but they're not able to actually go through it to other worlds. So Gambit says, I plan to stay here to be the first in line to kick your ass if this goes wrong. He's talking about anything bad happening to Rogue. And Apocalypse says, I should very much like to see you try. Again, this is great. And then the action that ensues, again, there wasn't a ton of action up until this point. And then it's just all out to the very end of this book. And just like before, and look, I could give up the goose. I'm not going to. I want you guys to check this book out. It is a huge reveal. Lots of stuff happens. It is an intense, good fight scene. It's really fantastic, and it shows how Psylocke becomes Captain Britain. And I say becomes Captain Britain. She inherits those powers. And it's a really cool story how it occurs. It happens naturally, organically. And again, I have to say, there's a little bit more stuff about the occult as well. That's some more reveals there at the end. like I said, go ahead and check it out. There's another data page that is pretty interesting. Again, deeper stuff about some of these, some of the extra stuff that's been added to Excalibur. The modern day kind of occult kind of stuff that is perfect for Halloween. So again, all of this whole thing about being nice to Apocalypse just totally creeps me out. So I gotta say that. But hey. Let me know what you think. If you like this book as much as me, leave a comment. Let me know. I'd love to hear what you think about the whole series, Dawn of X, every single bit of this writing, Jonathan Hickman's writing. Hey, if you want to talk about the art, because I really, like I said, I'm not much of an art critic. I'm kind of dumb when it comes to art, to be perfectly honest with you. But look, I plan on picking this up in the future, and you are the gateway into comics.